be okay. Stop talking. Okay, well, welcome, and thank you guys for joining us tonight at Virginia Middle School for our Internet Safety Night. I think it's very important that we collectively work to try to make sure we stay as informed in our students' lives as we possibly can. So I appreciate you all being here tonight. For that, looking for ways to keep our kids safe and also protect them from things, and making sure that they're using the devices and things they have at their disposal in a responsible manner, because they're things that, as I was growing up and going through middle school, and that you were growing up and going through middle school, things now exist now that didn't exist then. And it's kind of a constantly evolving and constantly changing landscape. And so it's very important for us as a school, as educators, as parents, to make sure that we're as informed as we possibly can be about all the things that are out there that our kids are involved in, and a lot of the things that they're partaking in that we might not even know. I know there's new apps that come out every day that our students are picking up on, and may just come out and boom, everybody's using them, and we've got some people that are going to share some information about apps. We've got lots of students that are playing online video games, whether it be on Xbox or whether it be on PlayStation or computer, and we need to make sure that we're aware of what are some things that they're doing in that, or what are some things that are potentially out there that could be harmful that they don't need to give out as they're playing those games. And so we'll share that, and from we have experts here from the Children's Advocacy Center, Washington County Sheriff's Department, Bristol, Virginia, Police Department, and Bristol, Virginia Sheriff's Office that will share shortly, and I think it'll be a very informative session for you, and that way, hopefully you can walk out of here tonight with some tools and some ways to be thinking about how we keep everyone safe. From a school standpoint, I see every day the effects of texting, social media, improper use of cell phones. I see that all the time, and I think it's our job to try to help our students understand when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate to use, and the proper ways to use them. Often, when we had all the students in here earlier and they were coming through in the rotation, it was very interesting to me as we were talking about, okay, well, what apps are you using? Do you know what your privacy settings are? Do you know who has access to your information, whether it be on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook? Do you know who has access to your information? TikTok, that's a big one. Instantly you have 2,000 followers if you sign up or something like that. And so does somebody know? Do you know who's viewing your information? And oftentimes that students jump into those things without fully understanding what they're jumping into. And so I think it's important that we have those conversations with our students. So without further ado, I'll kind of get out of the way here and turn things over to Ms. Wallace, Denise Wallace from the Children's Advocacy Center.
Have you all tried that? Okay, about filtering content. Okay. So one of the things, I work at the Children's Advocacy Center, and so then we deal with allegations of physical abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. Obviously, sometimes if situations are referred to us because things have gone really badly with pictures. And kids have put out then videos or pictures of themselves with revealing photos. So I do just want to say that I do think that a filter or something that blocks exposure to porn, I think is really helpful, because a lot of the kids that I work with, unfortunately, have had a steady exposure from a very young age, which is the average age now is 7. And so, because even though you may lock down a kid's phone, what they're seeing on the other kid's phone on the school bus is very different. So then, can we guard against all that? It makes it very difficult. So I think it's better to have a conversation about who are these people that are following you? How do you decide that? And then also to look at it. You know, as parents to get on, and then I always take a not knowing stance with kids. When they come to see me, I'll just say, I don't know about this TikTok, even though I've heard about it from 4 others that day. Okay, I'll say, can you tell me about it? Can you tell me what you like about it? Can you show me what you do on it? And so they'll sit down and they will be the teacher and I'll be the student, the dumbest student. Because I want them to show me what they know or have figured out and what they don't know. And then I can say, well then, are you willing to take a look at some things that maybe I'd like to show you? And there is a very good resource called Net Smarts, NETSMARTZ. Net Smarts has videos. It talks about how to prevent maybe some issues related to cyberbullying, when it talks about how to look at friend or fake, how to know if someone, or be cautious about it. So it just has lots of nice scenarios for the kids to be able to watch the videos and you all to be able to talk about it together. So I would strongly encourage, you know, a filter, strongly encourage that you know the app, and also make it so that the kids can't download any apps without parent permission. Because for a lot of kids, sometimes they get involved, and sometimes when the cases come to our office, it's because an app has been sent to them. And I know that that's a huge warning sign when someone is sending a specific app to them, particularly if they only know them through social media. And so you want to make it so that they just don't have the option of downloading that without your permission. So, you know, I think we want to kind of look at the way we talk about it with them, which is let them know that if you have some concerns, there is a zero expectation of privacy, and that then that you're going to be checking the phone regularly. And then also they can be using that sometimes with folks. So sometimes the kids that I have who tell people, I have a parent who checks my phone regularly, have been freed from some situations. And then the other part I want you to do is just try, if you can, to have conversations with them about, instead of don't talk to strangers, but what would it be like to get a friend request from a stranger? Can we just talk about that good car driving time where they're side by side, and you can say, what would be up with an older person contacting you? Why would that be? I think it's a better conversation than trying to become a tech expert and blocking everything from your kid's phone. So those are just some of the tips that I wanted to share today. And just let kids know that you might have to take the phone for protection, not because you think they've done something so wrong that we don't think that they are going to make that every decision is going to be a right one. They have been given, it's not a phone, it's been access to the world, so I wouldn't expect them to make 100 right decisions. Just let them know you expect that there are going to be some missteps, that you would rather know about them so that you can try to help them and keep them safe. Because that is the #1 reason why kids tell me at my office that they didn't report when they were subjected to online exploitation. It's because they didn't want to lose their phone. So I think we can go a long way as parents to let them know that we won't overreact, we want to understand, but we do have some rules, and that maybe even in a contract, we let them know sort of what the rules are so that they know the expectation. Any questions or comments about that? All right, we've got some good folks here to share some other tips.
Hey guys, I'm Lieutenant Chris Whitt. I work with the Bristol, Virginia Sheriff's Office, and I get the privilege to teach all your kids the DARE program. But what I want to speak on today that hits me a little bit personally, because I've raised 4 children myself, and I have a 7th grader that goes to school here, is online video games and the dangers of it. Raise your hand if your kids play a lot of video games. Okay. What games are they playing?
Fortnite.
Fortnite?
Minecraft. Roblox.
Roblox, okay.
Minecraft.
Minecraft? Okay. Good. Well, there's several online. Most video games now come with an online setting that you can go on and play with countless friends and strangers. I just spoke with the kids about an hour ago and asked them, you know, do you ever play with strangers online? And they was like, well, yeah, sometimes. And so they sort of stepped me through the process, because I don't play video games. But they stepped me through the process. So what I was getting from them is a lot of times they will play video games with strangers, and then I guess you have an online name or something like that with a PlayStation or Xbox. And what they do, they'll play a few times, and then they add these strangers that they've never met to their friend list. And they start playing with them several more times. And so, let me ask you guys a question. How many online predators do you think, it might fluctuate a little bit, but on average, how many online predators are there out there? Sorry for that. How many, just give me a number, throw a number out there.
I'd say at least half of the percentage of people that are on there are looking for
Half of them
younger
play?
kids.
Well, I will tell you, there's 250 million people in the world that play Fortnite. 250 million. That's 1/3 of the world's population. I mean, 1/30. Like 1 out of every 30 plays Fortnite. That's from birth to the oldest person on the planet. 250 million. And on average, there's around 500,000 online predators, okay? Which is a large number. And the way the predators work in these games, guys, is they go in and just like any predator will do, they try to win your trust. They'll talk to these children, build up friendships, talk about their favorite sports teams, and like kids our age, middle school age, they give out a lot of information that they don't even realize they're giving out. You know, they'll send pictures of, you know, them in their school with Virginia Middle School in the background. I didn't tell them no information, well, it's in the picture. So a lot of times being young like that, they give out a lot of information that they don't realize that they're doing. I've sat through several in-service training, really good in-service training. Some that's taught by the FBI on cyber crimes and things like that, and the different technology that's out there with all this stuff. Who said their child plays Minecraft? Okay. Minecraft, do they play online? I know there's an online setting for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Minecraft is it's a very, very kid-friendly video game. You absolutely go in, it teaches you how to build things, it helps you with problem solving. Nothing wrong with Minecraft at all. But I will tell you, on the online setting, there was a case where a guy named Adam Isaac was a 30-year-old predator, and he was online and he befriended a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. And over a matter of time, he did persuade them, over months of playing and building that friendship, persuaded them to send sexual pictures of themselves. He would pay them on PayPal. Parents were oblivious to it. So just because it's a kid-friendly game doesn't mean that that stuff can't happen. Okay, that's where most predators are going to try to, a lot of times are going to like the, what is it?
Roadblocks.
Roadblocks. And I think that's typed out. Everything on that is typed out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like they block out the nasty words or whatever. Okay. I would say that's probably loaded with predators, truth be known, because they know it's going to be a younger base. Just because I'm not saying perverted things to you doesn't mean I'm not preying on you if I'm a predator. But one of the games I want to talk about, has any of your kids ever played GTA? Have you guys ever heard of it? Grand Theft Auto 5? Have you ever researched it? Any? No joke. I mean, and the reason I brought this up is I asked a group of third graders that I teach on what their favorite video game is, and 6 out of the 11 said Grand Theft Auto 5. These are 8-year-olds. And these games have scenes in it that as a 45-year-old would embarrass me. Some of the worst stuff that I have seen. Pornographic, violence, it is crazy. And just a lot of parents just don't understand what all's involved in it. It's a mature rating, so anyone under 17 is not recommended to play it. And if your child is playing, just go online and pull up some scenes from it, and you'll totally have a different perspective, because what's happening, kids are spending so many hours playing these games, and it's starting to take root in them. And they're starting to get desensitized to a lot of things. So what I would suggest as a parent of kids and as their instructor to you guys, what I would recommend, be that nosy parent. You know, we're not out to be our kids' best friends. If they really, really like us a lot, we're probably not doing a good job as a parent. You know, be nosy. Dig into ask them, let me see your cell phone. Go through all that stuff. Who are you talking to online? Make sure you put different settings on their phones, settings on their video games to where they can't go to certain places. Because before you know it, man, they're 2 clicks away from looking at some of the worst stuff in the world on a phone if there's no settings on it. 2 clicks. And they can look at any pornographic image on the planet. And their innocence at 8, 9 years old is probably going to be gone at that point. So be a nosy parent. That's the one thing that I want to leave you guys with. Just don't take for granted that your kid's doing the right thing, because we were all this age, and I'm sure not many of us in here, outside of Mr. Crawford, done the right thing here. So, but absolutely just know that kids make mistakes, and the more we know about those mistakes and they build that trust with us and can come to us if they have made a mistake, the better. Last thing we want them to do is to hide it and to feel ashamed or whatever they might have done. So work on that trust with your kids and be nosy and everything. And thank you guys for having me.
Contrary to what he said, I haven't done all the right things. I'm Steve Crawford. I'm the sergeant with the Bristol Police Department. What I was going to do was a little different from what everybody else is doing. I have to talk for the legal aspect of this and what kind of charges, code sections we're seeing, and tell you something that's in common with children and adults. I'm just going to read these codes, and they kind of speak for themselves what I'm going to say here. And I'll tell you, and this first one, now this is production and publication and self-financing of child pornography. And that, production, that speaks for itself. Everybody understands what that means. And you have possession, reproduction, distribution, solicitation, and facilitation of child pornography. This is what we see adults and these predators and stuff. That's generally what, as Captain Blevins could tell you, what just happened in Washington County. These people are real, and everything they're talking about, the Xboxes and all these apps, that's how they're reaching these kids. I can't stress this enough here that, and I'll add this one here, this unlawful dissemination and sale of images of another. These go for these predators, these adults that well, you read about it. I don't have to say a lot about that. But the thing that this doesn't differentiate in any of these code sections. This is age. It says if you're 18 years of older, that this only applies to you. This applies to juveniles too. And what we see the most of here is the cell phones. These kids are trading images and they're sending images this way and that way. They can't do that. That's a crime. We generally don't go after them for that stuff, but we usually tell the parents and they handle it. But you kind of stress that to them that they could get in trouble for that. And this goes on quite a bit in this area. Kids taking pictures of themselves nude and send it to each other, and next thing you know, they're all over the place, and we've got a mad parent or the school finds out about it. So this covers that too. It can. Okay, if somebody wanted to go after it, they could. So you're going to hear in a minute a little bit about cyberbullying, and there's some code sections here that cover some of this, and then I just dealt with one with a juvenile, and it was a threat of bodily injury. Now, if I say I'm going to hurt you right now, that's a crime. But when you put it in writing and you send it across the computer or across a text message, something like that, I just charged a juvenile with this. That's a felony now. So kids are going to say a lot of things, but you need to really look at these phones and pay attention to what they're doing, because the minute it goes in writing, goes out, it's out there. And pay attention, and then these harassment by computers and threats over using language, stuff like this is real also. This goes to the boy. Pay attention to this also, because kids will be cruel. Everybody knows that. And this cyberbullying is real, and you see every day in the news what's going on. Just a few crimes. There's many of them, but these adults are arrested. Some of the crimes that we charge with are seeing, and I'm just going to name a few: taking indecent liberties with children. Then you got use of communication systems to facilitate certain offenses involving children. You know, and this is you can be photographing or whatever. This is that covers that. It's quite detailed. Carnal knowledge of children between 13 and 15 years of age, and then you got just rape. Okay, and these are just some of the stuff that we're seeing right now. This is real. These kids, some of them are sucked in so easy by this. And these people are in this area. They're everywhere, and we're putting them in jail all the time. And like I mentioned, Captain Blevins, they just had a pretty horrific case where this gentleman got exactly what he deserved up here, and he'll probably tell you. Now, the Code of Virginia, it has to define everything, whether it's a gun or whatever, tell you what it is. Defines what a computer is, and it describes it. And when you go through this and read it, it's the same thing. What a cell phone will do, Xbox or anything. So it's covered now. So when this stuff says computer, it still means cell phone, okay? So, and I'll give you a couple of statistics here. Since 2014, and I ran across this the other day, since 2014, there has been 1.5 million complaints just through the Department of Justice, majority of them involving children, internet crimes. And this is terrible right now, and we get it quite a bit down here. And so every time we get it, the FBI gets it eventually. So we're looking at this, and this is starting to take up a majority of time of people, to the point where we could have a couple of full-time people just working on this type of crimes. We haven't had mass arrests for this right here. The federal government usually does this, but I ran across this there. Last June, they arrested 2,300 people online sex rape. And these men and women were soliciting these children all across the country. 2,300 people were arrested. This is one day. It's one day they were arrested. Then this one here, in 1999, now this is in the infinite days of getting information, they found it was 3,000 images of child pornography on the internet. 3,000. In 2018, late 2018, they had found 45 million images. And that's just show you, and the technology is a lot better, they're finding it quicker, and we were just talking equipment earlier, but this is everywhere. And there's not enough people to keep up with what's going on, but you know, as parents, the number one thing I can stress, I mean, you got a desktop computer set at your home, you're gonna look at it a lot more, you're gonna see more. Pay attention to these phones, please. That's really the most important thing I can tell you right now. Pick them up, these passwords, look at everything they've got. I've got a 17-year-old daughter right now, and I could go to her phone anytime to look at anything she's got. And so when you do that, you're going to head things off at the pass. And instead, you're going to be one of these parents that gets surprised by something you had no idea. So see it every day, every day. Someone right out here in this hallway, this office of high school. And so, you know, this is so detailed, no one's scared, nobody, the rest of us pay attention to what they're doing. And we'll put a dent in this, but if you find something on the phone that they've done, don't hold on to it for a few days and decide if you should tell someone. If it's somebody coming after your child or something, you bring that phone, bring it to the police right away. Because time's of an essence on this, and Captain Blevins can tell you that here in just a minute. I don't know, it's about all I can tell you right now. We could really get into legal mumbo jumbo right now, but we'd be here all night. But I'll turn it over to Captain Blevins and he can continue on this.
All right. Thank y'all for waiting around with us and giving us your attention this evening. It certainly says a lot to you, a lot about you as parents, that you're legitimately concerned about what your children are doing online. And I appreciate that, because by y'all being here makes our job a little bit easier, because we know that, hey, there's some parents out there who are really interested that they'll take time away from home tonight to come out and listen to us give these speeches. I'm Jamie Blevins. I'm the CID captain up at Washington County Sheriff's Office. I'm also the district coordinator for the Southern Virginia Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. They're originated out of Bedford, Virginia. They're one of the first original 10 Internet Crime Against Children Task Force that were created back in 1998 under Operation Blue Ridge Thunder. So what we do in the ICAC task force here in this part of Virginia is we cover everything from Smith County to Lee County, and offer assistance to other agencies, offer training, offer presentations, offer child ID kits and things of that nature to protect their children online. One of the other things that I work on in internet crimes against children is I've worked peer-to-peer cases where online predators trade child pornography via things like, you remember the music sharing programs called Napster. File sharing among child pornography worked the same way. They would go to peer-to-peer sites and trade child pornography like people trade baseball cards or whatever, you know. It's just gotten so complex and gotten so big that it's all we can do to keep up with it. And then along comes smartphones, and that threw us another several years behind. We also do we do some undercover chat cases here in this part of the state. We've had a great amount of success working those cases. I can take you into my lab now, sit down, and within an hour on pretty much any social media site you want to name, have someone thinking that they were talking to a 14-year-old girl or boy, and they would be committing felonies within an hour by asking for pictures. If we had the manpower and the resources in this part of the state to do it, we could make cases every day. We're still growing to that point. We also do computer forensics, cell phone forensics at the Sheriff's Office, and provide this service to other jurisdictions as well around us. And probably the most important thing, and the thing that I enjoy the most, is education to these kids. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come out here this evening and talk to your children earlier. They're a great group of kids. We had a lot of good conversation about what happens online and the dangers of improper behavior online and things of that nature. So one of the things that Steve and I took out of the conversations with the kids, we talked about, you've heard us talk about online predators and things of that nature. There was, you had kids raise their hands and said that they had people on their friends list that they didn't know who they really were, and people who had sent them messages and asking for pictures and things of that nature. Please, 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 and tell everyone else you know, check your child's friends list on these apps and social media sites, and find out if you don't know who they are, they don't need to be on that list. There is no legitimate reason for them to be on that list. They are not to the age that they need to meet new people. You know, they'll get that opportunity later in life. Those people don't need to be on there. And one of the things I often get asked by parents, and people say to me all the time, this is Southwest Virginia, this doesn't happen here. Yes, it does. It happens here all the time, more so than you'll ever hear about. But so online predators work like this toward your child on social media sites. First thing they want to do is gain their attention. They gain their attention by paying them compliments. If your child has a picture on their profile, these online predators, they may scroll by geographic area, look for girls in the age group that they're looking for, maybe boys. They find one with a picture, meets the characteristics of what they may be looking for, the age group they may be looking for, and they open up the messenger and pay them a compliment. And kids, these middle school ages now, they like positive attention. Really, they soak it in so much that anytime you tell a middle school age girl as they're walking out to school in the morning, you say to your child, "You look very nice today," coming from a parent, you see how their eyes light up when you pay them that compliment, right? So when a stranger does that, what does that say to that child? That's someone giving me some positive attention, okay? And so what they do is they first capitalize on that to get their attention. And then the conversation will start off with the compliments flowing and keeps, talking about how life is going and how much drama there is at school, and giving that ear, someone who's saying, "Oh, I'm going to listen to your middle school age child tell all about their drama at school," when all they're doing is just very slowly reeling it in, okay? So they start dropping little things like, "I'm glad I'm able to be a ear for you here, and I'm so sorry you're having a tough time at school. Hey, by the way, where's your parents at? What are they doing?" And in many cases, we find out that parents may be working, they may be, having to take care of other children, they may be preparing meals, whatever it is. When they see an opportunity that they have this child's attention, then they want to capitalize on that. This thing escalates so much and so fast that they start to gain the trust of the child. That's what they want to do. Once they get to the child to trust them, then they will drop the line of, "Hey, can you keep a secret?" That's a test. When they say, "Can you keep a secret?" And the child says, "Yeah, I can keep a secret." Well, maybe you could keep secret that we become boyfriend, girlfriend, or dating, And when you tell a 13, 14-year-old girl that you're dating, and she can go back to school and tell her friends that she has a boyfriend and she's dating, what does that do for her social status in this peer groups, that she's around at school? To her, she is really elevating up, and it makes her feel so good when this guy's paying her compliments and asking her for regular pictures and, try on new outfits and send me a picture. "Oh, you're so beautiful. You look so beautiful. One day I'll get to meet you," or whatever. And he gains so much trust, she starts talking about all of her problems and so on and so on and so on. And then he gets to the point that he says, "I really feel comfortable with you. Do you really feel comfortable with me?" And she'll respond with, "Yeah, I do. You really listen really well to me and care about my problems and everything else." And then that's when he sets the hook. That's when he says, "Child, I'm so close to you that I feel like we could talk about anything and keep everything between us," and so on and so forth. He's got that trust game. that's when they'll ask for the picture. You know, he'll ask for a picture clothed. You're so beautiful. He'll say something along the lines of, I'd like to see more of you. And he'll gain a little bit more, slowly. They are so patient. They are so conniving. They work so slowly. But they do that for a reason. Gain that trust, gain that attention, until they get that picture. And then once they get that picture, a lot of times what I see now is we've started educating our kids so they're realizing that when they send an inappropriate picture, they say, uh-oh, I've done the wrong thing here. I shouldn't do that. Then they feel bad about it, right? Well, so what if the kid says, he says, send me another picture. You know, maybe send me a picture of more exposure. And she says, well, I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Well, then he's got the hook set. So you know what he does? He says, if you don't send me a picture, I'm going to send this picture you just sent me to everyone on your friends list or to your family. And he's going to blackmail her into sending another picture, because a middle school age child does not want that embarrassment, right? So they're hooked, and they get sucked in, and they feel like they have to keep sending pictures and keep sending pictures. So, and then all the while, this guy's doing it to 4 or 5 different girls at the same time. He's carrying on a conversation with 4 or 5 different girls at the same time. You know, I recently worked a case, an undercover chat case. Went into a group, you know, on Facebook. Guy immediately struck a conversation with what he thought was a 14-year-old girl. Over a period of 2 nights talking to this guy, he had already asked for the address of where I lived and indicated that he was going to drive here from Charlotte, North Carolina, and come to my house, okay? So during this time, he revealed enough of information about himself that we was able to get him identified. And so we went ahead and arrested him. He didn't travel, but we were able to still charge him under those code sections that Steve was talking about, use of a communication system to facilitate crimes against children and indecent liberties with a child. So he ended up over 2 nights, about 3 or 4 hours a night. He racked up 20 felony counts. He is now serving a 250-year sentence. So Virginia has laws that are very strict on these people if we can catch them. They have great laws, great statutes in place that, as far as the penalty phase, but we have got to work harder to catch them. So the other thing we talked about in my group, and I'll wrap it up with this, was cyberbullying. In our schools in Washington County, a few years ago, the sending inappropriate pictures was a big thing. We're seeing that decline now because kids are getting educated about not doing that, and we get a lot of good responses when we ask kids about it. They immediately say, no, we're not sending pictures, and that's great. But now we're running into the problem of cyberbullying. And think about it this way. 72% of all the school shootings that's happened in this country started because of cyberbullying. So now what we're trying to do is educate our kids. First of all, don't be a cyberbully, okay? If you have to resort to being behind a screen to say bad things about people, you know, what's it going to say, which direction our future's going in, right? Secondly, if you're a victim of cyberbullying, just tell someone, you know, please tell someone, because being a victim of cyberbullying gets a child into a very dark place, okay? And it gets them to the point of depression that if they don't tell somebody or somebody doesn't step up and recognize the change in behavior and get it addressed quickly, there's cases all across this country of children who have harmed themselves because of cyberbullying. not to mention the children who have decided to harm other people because of cyberbullying. And then the last thing we talk to kids about cyberbullying is this: don't be a bystander. If you see cyberbullying going on, don't participate in it. Don't just ignore it, but stand up for the person that's being cyberbullied. You know, a lot of kids here this evening, when we were talking to them about this, I feel like they really grasped the idea. And I put it to them like this, you know, they wouldn't let me go out here and harm any kind of animal, whatever it may be, if I was out here at the side of the school doing something bad to an animal. Doesn't matter what kind of animal. They all just, oh no, we wouldn't let you do that. No, 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 no. So I ask them this question: why do we let them do it to other kids? Why do you let other people hurt other people by words? And so that, to me, that registers with them. And we teach them to stand up for other people. And if we can get one child to stand up for someone else and explain to them, it doesn't have to be your best friend. It doesn't have to be a family member. It doesn't matter who it is. But if you'll stand up for somebody and say, hey, I don't like what you're doing, what you're saying to this friend of mine or not friend of mine or whoever it is, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to block you. The next child is going to say, you know what? He's right, she's right, I'm not going to listen to it either. Hey, Joe, you don't have to put up with this. It'll be all right. That makes that kid feel better. And eventually it pays off. We may not see it today or tomorrow, or maybe a week or two, but if we teach our kids to step up and step up for other people, it pays off in a lot more ways than one. Okay? Any questions? Thank you all very much for allowing me to come here and talk. I really appreciate it. See you.
Okay, I'm gonna be quick, because y'all look as tired as I am too. The rest of these folks stood up. I'm gonna sit down if that's all right with you all. My name is Tracy Dingus, and I am an ITRT here in Bristol. I work at the high school and some of the elementary schools. I used to teach here, as a matter of fact, many moons ago. But now I work in the technology department. And all of you have children that have computers that they bring home every day. And just like the rest of these folks have said, whenever your child has a computer, whether it's a cell phone, an iPad, or a laptop, they are in the entire world. They have access to the entire world. As a school system, we put things in place on the computers. We call them all kinds of things, filters and firewalls. And your child may come home and be fussing about, you know, I can't play my game on this stupid computer, or I can't get to this site on this computer. And then you may notice after a while that miraculously they get on it. And you might be thinking, how do they do that? And they do that by downloading something. Well, actually, they don't even have to download it anymore. A couple years ago, they actually had to download software onto their computer to get around those firewalls and those filters that are put in place by the school system. Now all they have to do is access it through a website, and most of the time it's through Google. So if your child's on their computer and you notice that they're accessing these sites and they're on Google, look up at the top where the address is and go over to the right and just kind of hover your mouse there. And if something kind of pops up and it says VPN, there are thousands of them. There are more every day. There's Hotspot Shield, there's DuckDuckGo, all kinds of things. And all they have to do is turn that on, and it bypasses all the filters. So if you're wondering, how are they getting to this on the school computer? That's how. And it used to be when they had to download it, it was very easy for us to block. Because all we had to know was the URL, we could block it, and we could have one of the techs remove it from their computers. It's harder now, and we need your all's help. When your child is at home with that laptop, the number one thing I can tell you is make sure they're in a room where other family members are. Because that is supposed to be for school work. And look and see what they're doing. Don't ever let them go into a bedroom or somewhere by themselves with that laptop, because you need to be monitoring what they're doing. You are the #1 line of defense for your children. Check that browser history. If it's always empty, that should be a huge red flag to you. Because anywhere you go on the internet, it keeps up with all the sites you go to. And if every time you check the history on your kid's computer, if it's always empty, it's been cleared, you should be very suspicious, because that can happen accidentally. That has to be done with intention to delete that. And, you know, just like on that phone, your kid has a password to their computer, and you should know what that password is. They have an email account through the school system. Just like you check those text messages on their phone, you need to check the emails on their computer. And I know, I've got 2 boys of my own, and I remember the fits that were pitched. You don't trust me, you know. No, I don't. You know, when they were in middle school, no, I don't. When they were in high school, no, I don't. And now they're young adults, and nah, I don't always trust them. I try. But that's part of our job as parents. We sometimes get the raw end of the deal, and that is to check up behind them. The other thing is to make sure that the camera on that computer is covered. Every one of our laptops has a webcam, and if you look up at the top, on the side that's facing you, there's a camera. Make sure it's covered. Most of our teachers have instructed our kids here to cover it with a piece of tape or something. And the reason is, if someone were to get access to their computer, and we've even had staff that this has happened to, they can turn the camera on and off. And so if your kid has that uncovered,
To someone else?
yes, they can do it remotely. And that's true for your computer at home, if you have a webcam on it or an iPad. Be careful with that, because, you know, there are crazy people in this world, and they use that against people. Like one of the gentlemen that was speaking said, you know, like the sending the picture and saying, I'll embarrass you. You know, if you don't send me more, I will send this to all of your friends and your teachers and everybody else. That can happen with that webcam too. And you need to make sure that they understand it. It's a tool, and it's a great tool that we can use to do all kinds of things, but also to protect yourself, that it's something that you need to be mindful of. And you have an ITRT here at Virginia Middle School. There's also, that's Mr. Talbert, and Ms. Peters is in all of our elementary schools, and I just go everywhere. And you can contact us. You can contact the librarians. They have a direct route to us, and we want to help. We want to help you with keeping your kids safe and having them use these tools that will get them so far in life, but we also want them to be safe, and you are our best line of defense. Just making sure, like on those phones, that you do the same thing with those laptops your kids bring home. You would not let a complete stranger in your house to go to the bedroom with your child. You wouldn't do it. No parent that's worth anything with. Don't do that with their laptops, with their iPads, or with their phones. Make sure they are somewhere where you are, or another trusted adult, that they're not left alone, even when they're playing their crazy games. I know, because that's how you keep them safe from people out there. And we hope that you all will go and share the things that you've learned tonight with other parents and with friends and family, because, you know, kids are why we're all here. You know, we want the best for them. We expect bright futures from them, and we appreciate you all coming out. I know you've had a long day yourself, but this kind of stuff is necessary for us to have these conversations to keep our kids safe. All right, Mr. Buchanan and Mr. Matlock.
So, I know that, you know, we've been here for a while, and so, you know, I just wanted to open up and say, does, you know, anybody hear anything here tonight that you have any questions about any of our, from any of our experts. Does anybody?
Experts and Chris.
Right. So does anybody have any questions or any, I don't know, thoughts or anything that they would like to know while we still have them here?
I kind of have one, but it's not really related to the internet.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe, sort of, but I'm wondering how much of any of this could be related also or connected to, like, sex trafficking, because there's a lot of us that have young ladies that I know would be targeted, and that's certainly something that's come to the forefront that I would think somehow they would maybe, could possibly try to connect with them online as well before that happens, but I don't know enough to know whether that is connected or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is, because how much information is on that young girl's Facebook profile and her bio on whatever social media site it is. It's much like, well, they are online predators too. They're looking for someone to convey their trade and sex trafficking. So they're out there trolling these social media sites as well, trying to pick up new targets.
Location of some of these sites where some of the victims of sex trafficking, this is through the internet. That's how places are found.
A lot of things that
Scary.
you hear. Yeah, it's very scary because especially sometimes, like, I know some people have to wait for their children have to wait out front or whatever, and I mean, it's so busy, and we're so close to the 81, which I know is a main thoroughfare, north and south. Sorry, that I just wonder, how much of that is connected at all. What other things you can do?
Well, look at their profiles and lock it down, and then if it's one of those that you can't, just make sure they're not posting information about where they go to school, where they're spending their afternoons. If your parents is working, are they walking home? Certainly not their address, phone numbers, or stuff like that.
Now, some of them apps, like, people can call you and you don't even have to be friends with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Because I've
We
gotten
were just
calls
talking
on my
about
daughter's phone from grown men.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why are you calling? And when they hear me talking, because she'll bring it to me, she'll say, I don't know this number, or I don't know this person. Why are you calling my daughter? And they'll hang up on me and block her.
It's common, very common.
But, I mean, Raven will come and get me and tell me, I don't know who this is, or if it could be a girl, but a picture of a girl, but a guy talking.
Yeah.
Right.
And she'll still hand me the phone.
Mhm.
Because I don't have iPhones and stuff, they do, but I don't. And my Aunt Stephanie is like the FBI. And she will get in there and she will tell me what they say, what they type. She'll print it out for me if I have to. If she's over their phone, if the plan is hers, she tells me everything that they do. She'll get Sprint to rip it right down for me. Emails, the iClouds are set up, she knows every password. If it's changed, if anything's downloaded, she'll take the phones. Even though I pay for them every month, she'll take them.
Should be a daily occurrence, you looking at these phones.
Oh yeah, Raven thinks he's slick, like I can't get in his phone, but I do it every night. Every night.
You gotta be nosy.
He
I mean,
thinks
that's-
he's got one of them little things that you do like yes, and his fingerprint left it. I mean, it's not hard.
I think one of the most telling things was whenever we were able to meet with all the students today as they came through, and it was interesting to kind of hear their take on things. And as we talked to them about different apps, and I said one of the questions that I asked was, how many of you are on TikTok? And that's the new hot thing right now. And I said, well, what if you go home? What if you were at home right now and you decided, hey, I'm just going to film a simple TikTok and share it out there, and you got a Virginia Middle School shirt on, you shoot it in front of your house. Right there,
Right.
you just gave up.
Yeah, where you go to school and where you live.
All kinds of information, what your house looks like, what it looks like around your house. And you may just think you're just, shooting a funny video, but you have no idea you know, who's out there, who's seeing it.
Right.
And, you know, some of the things that I've dealt with in the past are
But don't you have to
from
post it?
from a school
You can put
standpoint.
it in a private.
Right, but like even things like on Snapchat and Instagram, you know, people students not being in control of who can view their information. You know, somebody sends them a friend request, oh, they look like they're about my age, I'll give them access, and now they have access to all your photos, and you know, they can.
Right.
Or they look
can
and
take
see,
it.
oh, they're friends with this person and this
Yeah.
person.
See,
and I
my
know
kids think if
that
I'm
must
friends
be
with
okay.
somebody, they gotta be friends with them too. I'm
I
like,
was
no,
gonna
it's
say
not,
the
that's not,
same thing.
that's not how it goes.
My daughter went in and friends requested every one of my friends,
Yes.
and I went in and.
Yes,
it was-
yeah. I had some friends ask, is it
But then
okay? I'm like, no, it's
Facebook
not
also
okay.
now has a kid
Mhm.
version that my kids now have, that if they get a friend's request, it comes through me first. If they get a message, it comes through me first. I also went a step further, and every single one of their accounts is linked to my
Yeah.
email. To where if anything that they want to download, it comes to me, because I'm not gonna lie, I was that kid, that teenager that was on the phone. Well, kinda on the phone, but still into AOL. It was AOL at the time, or
MySpace.
MySpace or
yes.
something.
Yahoo.
And I was
Yahoo
that kid
Messenger.
that was texting older gentlemen, and I know the dangers, and that's why I came tonight, because I have 4 little girls, and that are growing very quickly, and there are some really sick people in this world, and I don't care if they get mad at me. I have one that's on TikTok, and like, even if it has a cuss word, if you're posting that video, your tail is mine, because it's inappropriate for all the world to see.
I brought it to the school's attention. My daughter was getting a email or whatever from a friend of hers. A little boy at the school was asking for her to send pictures of herself, and my daughter told me, and she was crying out for help without saying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah, I
Don't
saw
say
it.
that. Let the people know that need to know.
I've seen one way worse than the pictures of a little boy.
well, he
And if
threatened
there
her
wasn't
too
small
if she
children
would've
in
said
here, I would
anything
tell
like
you,
that,
but
so I'm not.
I was
Well-
embarrassed for this
Yeah,
kid.
and I think that's the whole reason that's, you know, tonight's like tonight are important, so that, you know, you are involved, you are, you know, looking at, you know, the content that's coming through your, you know, your children's phones, and, you know, that you're, you know, on top of it
And
at
then I
all
was
times.
sorry inviting
So-
myself, my tongue, kicking myself in the butt for even trying to stand up for, I got the wrong impression of the phone situation here at school. That after I seen the video that the little boys was sharing to girls and stuff, they shouldn't be no phones at school.
No,
Period.
they shouldn't.
Hey, preach it, Sheree.
Yes,
Yeah.
Because
But,
if he was Raider,
yeah. I,
Well, that
I-
little boy was sending pictures of
I'd be
himself
in
here
jail.
at these schools.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
so
I
one,
would be in jail.
one of the things that, you know, one of the things that we talked about today with the groups were, you know, making sure that you're, you know, aware of what you're sending, you know, following the golden rule of the internet, which is, you know, don't message something that, you know, that you wouldn't want somebody else messaging, you know, about you. And I think, you know, just having them understand that, having those constant conversations, you all, you know, constantly checking, you know, their information and, you know, not letting them have that, you know, sense of privacy, so to speak, because at middle school age, a lot of times they don't possess that emotional, you know, maturity to be able to discern, you know, what is good for them and what is not. And, you know, that's part of our job to kind of help steer them in that direction. One final thing that I shared with them, and if you can help, you know, related that I see as a big problem are, you know, middle schoolers have no business having group chats or group texts. So if they have a whole, you know, 15 people on a group text or a group chat, that's oftentimes never going to end well.
Yeah.
And so you know, we were able to kind of talk with everyone about that, and from a school standpoint, that's one of the biggest things that we
Well, I
see.
contacted Crawford a couple times of
So-
little girls messaging and saying, kill yourself to my child and stuff, and like, who does that? when I see stuff like that, like it breaks my heart, like, what if she really did it, you know what I'm saying, like, don't you
And
have.
The
so-
most obvious form of cyberbullying.
Yeah, like, I'm like, Raven, honey, don't you worry, don't you cry, don't, you know, but, no, I don't like that stuff. Cause once it's said, it's hard to take it back.
Well, I appreciate you guys being here tonight. There's a lot of information on the back table back here. Please take some of that information, and you know, if you have any questions that you don't want to ask publicly, you know, feel free to, as we close, you know, ask us. Ms. Buchanan, you have any final parting thoughts here?
Got some gift cards to give away.
All right.
$25 to Food City.
Put my name in there.
Kiara.
Who?
Kiara Moreau.
All right. Yeah.
Where you live here? Come over for dinner tomorrow.
Trey and Miles. Get dinner for a night.
There you go.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you guys. for
Thank you
being
guys
here.
for coming.
Appreciate it.